Hi there, my name's Warlight Ref and welcome to the video. Today I want to share with you the latest breaking news in the Dylan Rounds case, and that's regarding a firearm that's been found by Box Elder County Sheriff's Office, and Candice Cooley has mentioned it as well from the Find Dylan Rounds Facebook page. Today we're going to be analysing the post, the comments to, and Candice Cooley's response to get to the bottom of when was the firearm found, and where was it found as well. We can also incorporate it with a map analysis too on Google Earth. So I do advise you and stress that to understand the full story, make sure to stick around for this video from start to end, and we see if we can reach a conclusion. And as we do go throughout, for those that are present in the live premiere, share your thoughts, opinions, reactions in the live chat box on the right hand side of the screen. If you want to check out previous videos, you're welcome to. You want to check out the external links down below in the pinned comment section, you can too, in the pinned comment. With that all being out the way, shout out of course to the people last night for their support during the live premiere. Shout out to, was it Gage Chan and a few other people, Arkansas, Badger, and maybe some others. It's good of them. Appreciate the super chats. Now, we're going to get right into today's video, and we're going to begin on the Find Dylan Rounds Facebook post and see Candice Cooley's latest response. Here we are on the page, and when we scroll on down, we can see latest activity by Candice Cooley, posted 17th of October at 2020, so pretty recent. Before I read out her response, we need to see the reposted content, which is by Box Elder County Sheriff's Office. As we see here, everything appears to be on screen. Box Elder also posted on 17th of October, but earlier on, 1659. It reads, disposition of unclaimed property. The Box Elder County Sheriff's Office has had a firearm turned in that was found in the Yost area of Box Elder County along a creek. The firearm was found around the 12th day of July 2023. At this time, the Box Elder County Sheriff's Office is requesting that the owner of the property contact the Sheriff's Office within the next 8 days. Once proof of ownership has been identified, the firearm will be released to the owner. If the firearm has not been identified in such time, it will either be destroyed or turned over to the individual that found the property, such as if it was general public, a hunter walking by that found it in the first place. So that's very interesting. You know, there's many links you could think of yourself, right? But let's just see what the Candice Cooley has to say. Candice Cooley says, we have tried to stay level-headed through the last 16 months with Box Elder County Sheriff's Office, but stuff like this infuriates us. They publicly ask for more help finding an owner to a gun than they did in finding Dylan Rounds. Read very closely, in quotes. If the owner does not come forward, it will be destroyed or turned over to the party that found it. Not the owner of the gun, but whom found it. Anyone else see the problem with this? You know, just let me know your thoughts, your reactions in the chat or comment section. I'm just going to take a look at the comments as well, people's responses to this, and then I will analyse and give you my thoughts, okay? So we just click here. Are they all loaded up? I think so. About, 224 likes, a couple of people sad, angry, not surprised. Most recent, okay, back from 1 hour ago. So Shelia says, unbelievable. No, not these days. No, just really, really sad. Draw a paycheck and go home. Deal with the easy investigations and let the hard ones just blow away in the breeze. Not a good thing in the world can be done unless you do it yourself. Truth and justice for Dylan in God and his name. Okay. Danny saying, are they actually doing anything to find Dylan Rounds? I've never seen anything that shows they have ever been fully invested in finding Dylan or even prioritising this case, considering it's pretty clear what's happened and the fact he's a young lad. I can guarantee that if it was Box Elder law enforcement's child that it's happened to, they would leave no stone unturned and made sure every inch of the area was searched with a fine comb until their child was found. And I can bet the person responsible would now be sat doing a full life sentence. I've never seen such a piss poor work from local law enforcement. It's disgusting, especially given the abundance of evidence they have that couldn't make it more clearer what's happened and who's responsible. The Box Elder law enforcement need to get off their asses and do their effing jobs and bring justice and closure to this family. Some of them ain't fit to wear the uniform, let alone to be paid to serve and protect. And this person uses the United Kingdom flags. They must be from the UK. Debbie says, inexcusable and shameful the way they did not perform the search for Dylan. Well, minimal at best, I guess. This above for a lost firearm? Really? Prayers and love sent to you, Candice. Idiots. Tammy, so sad. Just understand why it's so hard for some law enforcement to do their job and communicate with the families of the victim. Prayers for Dylan and his family. Terry, why would they risk this knowing they have a missing person believed to have been harmed by Brenner, such as the use of a firearm? Good question. Brenda saying they know Dylan was harmed by Brenner, they just don't care. We know Dylan was harmed by Brenner, but we do care and going to be right here until justice is served. Nancy saying, my thoughts are still with this boy and family. Way too long that the family has been waiting for answers. Response-wise, well said. Would need to know more about the gun and the circumstances it was found. Good point, Jim. No doubt Box Elder County Sheriff's Department messed up the initial investigation. Believe it is likely 2 people know where Dylan's body was buried. James Brenner gave 2 guns to the neighbour. I thought it was 3 guns. When asked, neighbour only turned over 1 gun later. I thought he surrendered all of them in, hence why Brenner's got those charges on him, multiple firearm charges. And that neighbour was Don Hatley, a longtime friend of James Brenner. Okay? He turned over the second one, asked again, this is sufficient to bring a felony charge of obstructing justice. Squeeze neighbour, he will yell more. But that neighbour has moved away since. Maybe a bit harder to get a hold of, possibly. Teresa, everyone but them sees the problem. Okay. Quite a lot of people angry, not pleased. What's this? Ain't bright enough to run the numbers on the gun. And if the numbers are filed off, they legally can't hand it over to anyone. They must not be any brighter than whoever that is. Okay. There's a time not too long ago when you could buy a gun without permission from government, right? Telling you what, sorry, no good department. Sounds like some incompetent people just collecting paychecks. So citizens should see all the red flags and do something about it. So people wouldn't care as long as they're not caught doing wrong. How convenient that they don't follow commenting on their post. I was about to ask that very question. Oh yeah, I had a quick look. Box Elder County Sheriff's Office has disabled comments on their post. I don't know if it's always been that way. Candice Cooley responds saying they shut commenting down. I believe it was in July of last year because of Dylan's case. They never did post his picture or ask the public and help for finding him. So I think I do remember that back then, last year, 2022, at a time where Candice Cooley, the community in general, felt that Box Elder County Sheriff's Office Department weren't doing enough, that they didn't care. So Candice Cooley kind of encouraged people to email Box Elder, message them, direct message them on Facebook and stuff. But I guess it got to the point where Box Elder got, hounded by all of this resistance for the right reason. And they decided to back off and disable comments and stop responding back to people. So depends how you look at that. Could be a way of just backing off, or no, maybe things are crumbling and they're trying to, limit damage control. Incompetence. Oh, we got Cutler again. Candice, thousands would be there if you asked. Many of us respected you so much. 10,000 people would be too much, but we'd be there if you asked. I personally think they effed up. Should they add anything, they might have stuck their words down their own throats. This isn't over. As a legal assistant in Utah, prosecution, then defense sued the police after hurting my children. We only received the amount of their deductible resemblance justice. Even FBI is seemingly only seeking notoriety on task. My words are brief for a reason. Tina saying to Candice Cooley, exactly, they didn't even take you all serious on day one or have compassion for justice, and the boots were found, and how dare they brush it off as could have left for the weekend or something. A mother knows her child best, and they were dancing around Brenner and him getting irritated by cops. They just make smell even worse. And even if Candice worked at the LE, they would have found him already, because she has done all the work for her son to be able to come back home, and someone else needs death penalty all day long. And we got Victoria. Shout out to Victoria. They've been on my channel. She says, people that support the police to a fault are clueless. Police misconduct and incompetence is way more prevalent than most people realise. It should be much easier than it is to sue local police departments. Krista saying, Candice and Justin, after everything that has happened with them this whole time, I'm not surprised. I feel really bad for Dylan. He is one not getting the justice he deserves. I don't understand that it's wrong on so many levels. I'm sorry this is who's handling his case. You truly are stuck between a rock and a hard stone. I mean, it's a hard place. Prayers for you all, and especially Dylan. Very disturbing behaviour from them. Corinne saying, question is, have they checked for fingerprints? Have they checked to see if it was ever fired? Oh, it may be connected to the case. Seriously, Box Elder needs to be retrained in their jobs. What does Candice Cooley say here? Who knows? So it's not for definite. Possibility. We got Wanda saying, seriously, it's crazy. I don't think I could have the patience you had. I know it must be really hard. We got Diana saying, yeah, if you're a criminal and you use this gun during a crime, robbery, murder, whatever, then throw it away. Yeah, someone found it, so we're going to need you to come down and identify it, and we'll give it back to you so you can use it during the next time of your crime. If any of you out there are thinking of committing a crime, Box Elder County is the place to do it. Okay. Are you kidding? How do they know this gun wasn't used in a crime? What's wrong with these morons? They have to be a bunch of the dumbest law enforcement people ever. Does seem a bit weird. The incompetence is abhorrent. Owners need proof of ownership, but people that found it don't. What a joke. That seems pretty summed up, that. What a freaking damn joke these clowns are. I cannot believe you guys have had to deal with this. Kathy saying, Dylan's whole family are in my thoughts and prayers. Just see what the other thoughts are. Linda, are you kidding me? Forget the gun. Find this precious kid. That's what everyone wants, Candice. I can't imagine what you've been going through. I'd have lost it a long time ago. Been patient. Cowards. I can't really read that one. Oh, comments have been disabled. Yeah. And Candice Cooley explained why. Okay. So I just wanted to read that out. I think most people were just basically highlighting that the way Box Elder are being, that they're being very casual about a firearm. The fact that it could have been used in another crime, and yet Box Elder are just saying, well, if nobody else steps up, then it'll just by default go to the person that found it. Now, this is the thing. It might seem a bit odd, and it might seem unlikely, but just imagine if you did have a criminal that committed a crime, that did something bad, used a firearm, maybe murder, disposed of it afterwards, and then found it again, or got a friend to retrieve it, hand it into the police, and no one else came forwards, and then it was just treated as that supposed stranger that found it. It was theirs to begin with, and they get handed back, and they don't get punished, charged, nor do they get questioned any further. Yeah, it seems like the firearms that can be found about in that area or so, they can be given back to the wrong sort of people, and Box Elder aren't even taking that into consideration. So it's very reckless. It could possibly lead to more crimes being committed with that mentality. I get that. But I think this is the other thing. The firearm itself, well, there's a focus there. Other people in the comments on this post were saying how, because it's an easier, do you call it a case to begin with? Just like a thing going on in real life, it's easier to deal with that than it is to put time and effort into a missing person case such as Dylan Rounds. So people are saying Box Elder County Sheriff's Office have got their priorities set in their ways, but not towards Dylan. And it seems a bit messed up. But what I want to come back to is, we're talking about a firearm that's been found near or at a creek. What's it doing there? Don't know. Has it been used for anything? Not sure. Who does it belong to? Not sure. It's that possibility, just like how Candice Cooley highlighted it in response to a question. What if that firearm that was found was of Brenner's? Who knows? At this moment in time, it's that endless possibility. You got Dylan Rounds, once known as a missing individual, now likely deceased, murder case. Brenner charged, murder and desecration. Dylan's remains not found yet. Candice Cooley, at least from her perspective, in the last interview with the Sun News, that Dylan was likely shot. Has a murder weapon been found yet? Or at least what we heard of previously? No. But then this comes up all of a sudden. Even though it says that the firearm was found the 12th day of July 2023, some months back, it's only been mentioned here publicly by Box Elder on the 17th of October, at least speaking about it publicly on Facebook, right? So why have they only posted about it now instead of back then? I mean, maybe they might have done back then, but I've never seen it, okay? Candice Cooley has only reposted it now because it's been posted on the same day she reposted it. So Candice Cooley is reacting to it live at the time and sharing her thoughts with everything that's gone on within Dylan Round's case, right? So we'll just read over what Candice Cooley says first, analyse that, then return back to the keywords by Box Elder. So Candice Cooley says, we have tried to stay level-headed through this last 16 months with Box Elder County Sheriff's Office. And I would say Candice Cooley has managed that, and I guess Justin as well, even though Justin does it most of the time. Because as we've seen, last few months, Candice Cooley just hasn't really been complaining as much about Box Elder. At one point, I was thinking that maybe they were getting on well if there was less arguing, that there was movement forwards. But as time's gone on, it seems like that hasn't directly been the case. Hence why Candice Cooley is reacting here. And she's saying that stuff like this infuriates us. They publicly ask for more help finding an owner to a gun than they did in finding Dylan. And that's true, because from what we've heard and seen and the lack of resources fully utilised at the start, Box Elder were a little bit slow in taking the Dylan Rounds case seriously. They didn't treat it as a crime scene, they didn't take direct action, nor did they arrest Brenner on the spot regarding pending, arrest. It was dragged out. Dragged out for a reason, maybe, or just dragged out due to incompetence. Yet because you got a case with a firearm being found at this moment in time, no proof to suggest it has been ultimately used in a crime or a murder, and yet Box Elder are jumping onto that and being very proactive. Why are they so proactive with a firearm but not an actual missing human, which is tied into a true crime case and a crime? Is it because a firearm situation is easier to deal with than an actual human? Probably. And I guess that's why Candice Cooley is so frustrated at this. I guess just once again, it's shown where Box Elder County Sheriff's Office priorities lie. Just like the time in the past where they were too busy taking photos of their horse parade and holding flags up going down pathways instead of actually doing any press releases or conferences about Dylan Rounds. So we've seen it multiple times now, and it doesn't highlight a good image onto them, but maybe they don't really care. Okay. And then the bit where Candice Cooley said, if the owner does not come forward, it will be destroyed or turned over to the party that found it, not the owner of the gun, but whom found it. So even if a criminal disposed of that firearm, and then let's just say another criminal came along and found it, and nobody else came forwards, the original owner, then that other criminal gets given a gun for free. So then they can use it in another crime. So it's like a food chain, passing it down, so then another person is given a free opportunity to commit a crime. That's really not good. But if we just read before that, there's more to it, right? The bit where it says, if the owner does not come forwards, the firearm will either be destroyed or turned over to the party that found it. So we've analysed the bit about the party that finds it, who could be equally a dangerous person as to the one that may have disposed of it. But if that firearm is instead destroyed, The reason why that's a problem is because that could be a key piece of evidence in a case, right? Destroying key important evidence can harm cases out there. It might prevent justice from being served and reached. So it seems a bit reckless by Box Elder County Sheriff's Office, to be honest. And if we're applying it to the Dylan Rounds case, because there are a few coincidences, the fact that Dylan Rounds passed away, dead, deceased, likely, is buried somewhere, that the murder weapon in the Dylan Rounds case has not been found. Brenner's been charged, but the weapon has not been found. No autopsy has taken place yet because, of course, Dylan has not been found. So there's still a few questions and, a bit of a void in areas. That possibility opened up to how Dylan Rounds could have been taken out and exactly how long it took, the damage inflicted, right? And was anything else used in addition to that? So I think over time, quite a few people believe that possibly Dylan Rounds was shot in some way or another, shot once or shot again after, ambushed, shot in the back or face-to-face confrontation. Either way, some usage of firearm. Ty Corbin in the past was talking about how Brenner had a chrome handgun, a chrome pistol, but that was never retrieved or found. So what we're looking at here about Box Elder finding a firearm, could that be of Brenner's? Who knows? It doesn't look like Box Elder County are even going to bother analysing it. I mean, I'll just double check. So it's saying that it was turned in and it was found in the Yost area of Box Elder County along a creek. Well, we'll try and look at that on the maps and see if we can find a location. And the firearm found 12th day of July 2023. So why is it taking this long then? And how much longer will it take? Well, it says within the next 8 days, and that's counting down fast. That's really it. It's not saying anything about whether a crime's been committed or not. Not saying anything about we're going to be taking it into the lab to test and see if there's any DNA upon it, if there's any hints or clues as to who it could belong to, or if it's got a victim's name over it in terms of DNA and prints or blood. It just seems very casual and laid back by Box Elder County. And that's a problem in my opinion. So with taking that post in mind and the location as to where it was from, I think now we need to apply it visually and try and trace it back onto Google Earth. This is time for a bit of a map analysis, and maybe we can measure the distance as well from the area it was found, Yost, to Grangeshed property. Let's head on over now and see what we can find. Upon zooming on out, you can see we're in Lucerne at this moment, but what we do need to type in is the name of the location. Now, maybe we don't even need to type it in because my eyes have locked on already. Can you see over here? Yost. That's how it's spelt, the same way it was spelt by Box Elder County Sheriff's Office. This appears to be it. But they were saying a creek nearby Yost. Do we have one? I guess we just check for if there's any water. But I think before we push any further, there is no harm in typing it out properly, just to make sure there's no other locations named the same thing. We kind of had this issue in the past, if you remember, when we were trying to look for where Don Hatley was at one point, when there was that rumour going about that he was in Oakley, and I typed Oakley in. You had Oakley, Idaho, and Oakley, Utah. 2 different places, 2 different states, but 2 named locations the same way spelt. So it can get a little confusing at times and frustrating. So just to follow through with a bit of a formal procedure, we're going to type in Box Elder County because that's how it was worded. I don't know if it matters which way around you type it. Box Elder County, Utah. Box Elder County, Yost. Yost, Box Elder County, Utah, USA. City in Utah, Yost Cemetery, West Yost Access Road. Right. I'm going to click the second one because I want to see how far the cemetery is away from Yost. What's this all about? Grouse Creek and all of that. That didn't seem to work, that. Okay. So we don't need to do that. I'll just type in one more time. Normally when it gives a suggestion down below, you click on it and it will take you there. I would type quicker, but I'm doing this one-handed because my other hand is on the tripod. Bucks, Elder County, Yost. Yep, make sure it's spelt the same. There we go. Does it take me to the same spot? Well, it appears to, because that's what I was pointing out before. You see Idaho mentioned there, Yost here. That's the border, right? Idaho border, or Idaho. Maybe I say it wrong, but it doesn't really matter. It's not the end of the world. Okay. So Yost on the other side of Rosette, across the mountains, you see there, near to Standrod, Cedar Creek over that way, Snowville over this way, close to the border, right? Yost is close to the border as to Snowville is as well. Snowville, supposedly where Chase Venstra was previously within the case. We've got Grouse Creek down here. Is there a road that leads up to Lynn? Yes, and it also passes by Yost. So I'm just looking at access routes, right? If there's a way to get to Yost from down here, Grouse Creek, and below that, Lucin, then that could have been a direction Brenner took if he was to go somewhere to dispose of, let's say, the firearm, right? Just a possibility. That's all for now. Let me just put the tripod down for a second. So I think what we can do is look at some images of Yost, if possible. Okay. We click here. It's classified as a city in Utah, but when you look at the area, I mean, come on, look at the area. It looks very empty, to be honest. Now, when it mentions Yost here, I'm sure there'll be like a perimeter or boundary of, you know, the area, the total area of what it's referred to as Yost. I mean, it's very rural, of course. It's surrounded by mountains. You've got a couple of pivots, some large ones nearby, a farm, a ranch. That's mainly it. So really, you could consider it possibly as an ideal place nearby if you was trying to dispose of an item. The quieter it is, smaller the population, less likely you are to be seen. It doesn't appear to be on a main road either, so there's chances there. But directly where this marker is, probably not, because this does appear to be, let's say, private land. Though, let's just see what images we've got. 1 out of 14, that's good to see. Wait, hold on. Is that Lincoln Kane? Bloody hell, that looks like Lincoln Kane, that bottom left corner of the screen. Ah, coincidence. Anyway. Looking what we see on screen, this will be custom photos. People who have visited the area, been nearby and taken photos of whatever they see in sight, okay? But we do this just to get an idea of what the area looks like, roughly speaking, so we can try and understand why an area like this yielded a firearm being found randomly, right? And you can let me know your thoughts. Who do you think it was found by? General public, dog walker, a hunter, a criminal, whatever. We do the poll now or later. So, is this an abandoned farm, an abandoned building? I mean, it looks abandoned, but you never know. Some things can look a bit rough around the edges. Barbed wire fencing going around. There seems to be 2 lots of it on both sides. Kind of interesting. I mean, with the amount of vegetation growing, you could argue it's abandoned. But we'll just see what the other photos are of. That doesn't seem abandoned. That's being controlled. Is that a pivot? Could be. You got the pipe going across all the way down, which I guess like a sprinkler or something. I guess water may come out to help the crops grow. And it stretches all the way across the land. So it's very vast once again, as you see. Is this taken by the same person? No, a different person. Well, that looks a little bit dodgy. See, when we come across potential abandoned buildings, you always think, is there a possibility Dylan rounds could have been disposed of in a place like that where it's untouched or buried nearby, or if it's evidence disposed of? I know we're supposed to be looking for a creek, and I'll try and look for that shortly, but we'll just see what else we can find here. Okay, so what's this? It's some kind of church of some sort. I don't see any symbols on it then. I mean, it doesn't look too abandoned, right? Some buildings nearby as well. If anyone knows any additional details, information about this place, you're welcome to provide an explanation down below in the comment section if you want. You've been to the area or you've passed by it, feel free to share your experiences, how it went. Was it good? Was it bad? Was it quiet? Was it dodgy? Let me know. Well, that does look abandoned once again. I mean, are we going to see any trailers or RVs parked up in the area? I'm not too sure. In the distance, another white building. There is a stile, I think. You could probably climb over that. I'm not too sure. Different angle. There you go. That doesn't look as bad, that does look better. And there's even a flag as well on the back of the building. So that's probably likely in use with the community, if you want to call it that. I don't know what the population is, fam. That house does look abandoned. There's no glass on the windows, nor is there a door. So, derelict. There it is, kind of fenced off. When was that? 2016. So, is it still there now? Not too sure. There's another one. Definitely abandoned, as you can see. Windows completely open. There appears to be a door on it, but not in the greatest conditions, and it's open, so people wanting to get in, they could. No graffiti, though, which is a bit of a surprise. Maybe because of the distance and where it's located, people wouldn't bother. There is, though, like an overhead line, or power head line, whatever you want to call it. Not a power head line, just a line with cables attached to it within the community. So there must be something going on. Activity. Humans living nearby. This building here, wow. I mean, in the back, you can see like a farm. So that does look active, of course. But this here looks like it's boarded up. The windows, doors, upper window. Small building. Traditional, maybe. Original, likely. Left-hand side, I'm not sure what that is. That farming equipment, trailers, possibly. You can see the mountains looming over in the distance, very tall and high. Ground pretty dry. Here, I think leaning onto a farm, possibly. Looks to be in use. Gated off. Private. With lines going over. So this must be all to do with the same area from the looks of it. So it would imply that it's a small community, just a small farm, a few people there. Not seeing any photos of people or vehicles, not yet. That place for riding horses, possibly stables, could be. But where are the vehicles, though? Oh, there's some more buildings in the distance. Is that it? Oh, shame. Well, just wanted to show you that, so you get an idea. Is there any user uploaded photos or street view imagery? Not from the looks of it. No. Sometimes you get those little orbs you can click on, but well, there's some over here. Fisher Lake. Is that considered a creek? It's really just looking anywhere for where there's water. That's what I would say. Okay. If I just click that off for a second and just zoom on in. This area, unlikely as to where the firearm was found, but it's probably the one place where there's like human life form. That's why I just wanted to zoom in. Like here, there's like scrap and junk scattered about, but there seems to be vehicles parked up and maybe tractors. We've got an RV trailer standing out clear. Some poles, equipment dumped on the side. This will probably be 2019 imagery. I'm just using this because it's easier to move the camera about. A car there. So yeah, I'd say it's fairly active, or was active, at least when this satellite imagery was taken. Bit more developed over here, as you can see. Is that an actual house, or is it just like a farm building? I'm not too sure. Another one there. Small area. An allotment, is it? More farming. Doesn't look too rough. Rural and quiet. Buildings in decent condition, or were decent at the time. Another trailer of some sort. More buildings. Unfortunately, I can't do street view. I think that abandoned building, what we saw, photo taken, roughly in this area. Don't know what the crime rate is. Pivots, as you can see, on the side. Abandoned vehicles there. And then it just follows the road onwards up to going to another building there. Another building here. With all hay bales. Very established. Organised as well. Damn. Once you go up that way, can I turn off the, how do I turn it off? There we go. Over Utah, and then that classified as Idaho. Oakley, Idaho. Where's that actual borderline at? There we go. So it says Utah here on this side, and once you cross over, that's Idaho. So Yost is before the Idaho border from, well, at least the way it looks. Yeah, Utah, Idaho border. I don't know, it just looks a bit weird when you look at it that way. I mean, when you see the split between Montello and Lucent, I don't know, it's just the way it's worded, it seems a bit clearer. But then again, it's because it's going downwards the line. It's going across, horizontal. Right, so we've seen Yost, roughly, the area, more so rural and focused on farming. Now, do we have any water in the area, such as a creek of any sort? We've got a dry hollow. If anyone does know, feel free to point it out, or if you do pick it up the area, leave a timestamp. It's like a gravel pit or something. I mean, it goes into the mountains, as you can see. You got Bally Mountains HP, kind of overlooks Yost. Maybe we can do the mountains. No harm. No images. Disappointing. Does it reveal anything else about the area? Not really. Okay, unfortunate. So this road goes into the mountains, as you can see. You can see the snow, but that's just at the time of when this was taken. In the distance, you've got Brigham City. I think it's said that Yost is 115 miles away from Brigham City. You got Rosette on the other side of the mountains. You got George Peak. Anything there? No photos. I'm surprised. I thought people would be uploading them. Park Valley in the distance, as to the talks about Chase Fenster at one point. Being down there. Don't really see any water at this moment. Don't really see any creeks. Would it come up if I just typed in creek? I'm not too sure. Mahogany Peaks. No photos again. Very disappointing to see. Wildcat Creek. Is this within the Yost area? Kind of. It is kind of. Let me just type in creek. Is it going to come up? Yost, George Creek, South Fork, George Creek, Johnson Creek, George Creek. Okay, cool. That's reasonable. That's what I wanted to do, right? We've got numerous creeks in the area. And Box Elder said the firearm was found near or at one of the creeks. They didn't give the exact name. But you can see most of them are within reach of Yost. Okay? That's a positive. I'm glad. So you got Johnson Creek, the one that well, actually, they call that Johnson Creek. Where's the Wildcat Creek, what I found? Wildcat Creek is here, how it's worded. Is it dried up? Hard to tell. But it does appear to be a creek here, and it runs on through. Can you see that? Wildcat Creek, yep. And it goes up to here. You can definitely see water here. Where does it travel to though? Trying to follow the line. Somewhere down here. And then maybe it ends. Hard to tell. Wildcat Creek, it continues over that way. Fair enough. You can see like a source of water there, on the looks of it at least. So what was it, Wildcat Creek, where the firearm was found? Near to Yost, as you can see. Yost is over there, that red marker. In parallel to Wildcat Creek, you do have Johnson Creek. Is there any images I can click on here? Johnson Creek. No photos, unfortunately. But in parallel, Johnson Creek, as it's worded here. Is this the exact spot? I mean, the shape of it implies maybe a creek. It goes in and out, but it looks more trees. I mean, here you got this as well, more water. Which seems to be a small creek which runs near to Johnson Creek. And it goes in and out. Is that really water or is it a road? It's hard to tell with the angling. Let's just see and work down. Johnson Creek. Well, it comes on down here. So it kind of like links on, possibly. Dirt road here. Looks to be water when you follow it all the way down to here, where it's darker, right? Interesting landscape and layout. Supposedly a creek, the way it's worded here. Do creeks dry out, or is it constant flow of water? As I say, I'm not an expert with all this. If you can answer it, that's appreciated. So just let me know your thoughts. Which creek do you think slightly? George Creek is actually up this way, which I went up to, near to the road. Comes off and is round here. There you go. Now, what's that? Is that just all trees, debris, rocks, bits of water? It's hard to see through the thick vegetation. But it follows up in the mountains, as you can see. Right? Goes up that way, near Little Valley. George Creek, no photos, unfortunately. I mean, these type of areas, when you think about it, near to the mountains, is this near hunting grounds where hunters would go out during certain seasons over summertime, even though summertime's coming to an end or has ended? You get what I'm saying? Or locals, people simply hiking and camping in the area. What do you think? I mean, a place like this, George Creek, in the mountains, kind of secluded, right? Away from Yost, the farm, the ranch itself. Maybe you wouldn't be seen if you were up here trying to dispose of something at the time. Maybe you wouldn't be seen if you were just a general public person walking by and found it. I mean, whoever found it, were they intentionally searching for it to begin with? And how did they find it? Okay, at a creek or near a creek, was it buried in the ground? Was it half buried? Or was it on its side, rested against a rock? Was it in the water itself, at the bottom, sunken? I wonder, it just doesn't give enough details. Bit of a guessing game, but it is open to interpretation, at least, which is a positive. Now, if George Creek isn't the spot, what else do we have? Well, not far off, up Little Valley, so nearby, you've got South Fork George Creek. Now, when it says creek, are they literally saying a creek, or is it just the name called creek? Anyway, I'm just showing you what appears on screen when you do a search. These are the search results, where it's directly a creek or it's a place called creek. Hopefully you get what I'm saying. I like to look for sources of water to reinforce it, and some of the previous ones, what we looked at down that way, it was near to water. So we looked at Johnson Creek, we looked at Wildcat Creek, even though it's not labelled on here. South Fork, George Creek. Do we have any others? South Fork Johnson Creek. Once again, I just don't see any water. I see track marks. Well, it looks like track marks to me. Maybe it fills up with water at times. I mean, it's not called a wash, it's called a creek. There's a complete difference between a wash and a creek. So you can say roughly within this maybe radius, where you got mountains, you got water running down, roughly in this area possibly. How far away is it from Lucerne? Really, if you're just going to cut it down the middle, and the way I want to do this, I actually want to follow it from, let's say here. I want to roughly follow these lines, and you'll see what I mean, because we need to get to Lynn first of all. We're coming to Lynn. Let's get down here. Because the way we're going now, we're actually trying to get down to Grouse Creek. Grouse Creek can get you into Idaho, Oakley. And you can work your way down from Yost down here as well. Perfection. I've got it. I can zoom on out afterwards, if possible. Now, since we're here, where do I want to go now? Oh, bloody hell, we just go straight down, don't we? Get on down. And then a bit of shimmying in and out. Not exactly perfect. 62 miles, roughly. We could even round it up to about 70 miles if you want to do that. Right, do not disappear marker, you little... there we go. Lucerne, roughly speaking. Lucerne, add on a bit more mileage to get to the grain shed property. If Brenner did what he did to Dillon on the 28th, on the way to Don Hatley's, would have been in the direction going past the pond area. Pond area here. Disposing of the phone, final phone ping 251. Going on to Don Hatley's. And then what after? Going on to Grouse Creek, possibilities. As I said, the marker what I've put is a little bit out of place, but it was just done very rough, okay? But it's kind of in the same direction, right? Over that way. Up Grouse Creek, which people have said needs to be investigated, is a bit of a dodgy place or something. There's abandoned cars, wreckages, abandoned building. Could Dillon be up there somewhere? People have had those theories, right? But that aside, going up Grouse Creek, as people have suggested in the past, people in the past said if Brenner was going anywhere else to maybe dispose of Dillon or dispose of other things, it would be up Grouse Creek because it's more quiet and secluded. It's away from the highway. Okay. And you follow that up, you go in and out, you follow that winding road, you go through Lynn, take a right here, through this little valley, you want to call it that. Yeah, you got Idaho off in the distance, but let's say you took a right here, and here you are, you got Johnson Creek, got Wildcat Creek, and you got Yost over there. So about 70 miles or so to get from Grainshed property up to here. Very doable, and away from the crime scene. Gun disposed of down one of these creeks. Not done that good, not concealed well, maybe. Or well, you got to take in mind that it doesn't give a date as to when it dates back, like who disposed of it and when did they dispose of it. Was it years ago? Was it sometime in 2023 or 2022? If we knew that, it would kind of reinforce it a little bit more. Just working with what we've got here for now, right? If there are any updates, maybe I can add to it in the future, okay? But I don't know, with it being a quiet area, maybe not as many people visit here, it takes time to come across stuff. If you're in a populated place, more chances, more people of someone finding it, one way of looking. And as well, just to take in mind the possibilities that if it has flooded here in the past due to heavy rainfall, as we've seen in, well, actually, we actually saw it in June, didn't we? Interesting. Let me just mention something right now as a possibility, right? You think back to June 2023. You had the reports of the flooding in Montello, not as severe as 2017, but still pretty bad. You had the flooding in Lucerne. You saw the flooding of the washes as well. So if it flooded here as well, maybe it could have revealed it. Because police are saying the 12th day of June when it was found in 2023. Maybe around that point it flooded, heavy rainfall may have washed the firearm out of one of the creeks or uncovered it, unearthed it, if it was buried or not. You get what I'm saying? It might have shifted it along the way. And then someone in the area may have found it. I mean, with it being near to a farm, you could argue maybe the people that work at the farm, whether they live there or not, may have found it themselves. Different possibilities, right? So just let me know your thoughts down below. So coming to a conclusion for now, based off everything that I've read out and what I've analysed and the potential location too, the distance from Lucerne as well, point it all into consideration and the wording from Candice Cooley and the original post by Box Elder County Sheriff's Office. Do I think there is enough proof to suggest that this firearm belongs to the Dylan Rounds case and maybe the murder weapon within Dylan's death? Do I believe that, or do I think there's enough evidence to support that? I personally don't think there is enough evidence at this time to support that, but because there is a lack of evidence to push the idea that it has no link whatsoever, well then it's kind of like a free-for-all, open to interpretation. Certain details have not been given, which is very unfortunate, so it becomes a bit of a guessing game. The fact that Box Elder County Sheriff's Office have reported on it, talked about it publicly, mentioned it, people have reached out to them, and they're being quite proactive with it, but they're not exactly treating it like a crime. They're not taking into the account possibilities that one thing could have led to another, that it could have been used in suspicious ways. They've not mentioned that, so it's a bit odd from them there. You know, you got to take in mind that Box Elder County Sheriff's Office are the ones that were working on the Dylan Rounds case, right? And that's still technically ongoing. So to find a firearm, yes, I know it's away from Lucerne, about 70 miles away, but you never know. If the police can go down to Brenner's original property, which is back in Montello, across the border into Nevada, and check that out and apply it to the Dylan Rounds case, then maybe they could have looked into it this way too with that firearm near Yost. Just a possibility, right? So there's not enough evidence to say this is the murder weapon in the Dylan Rounds case, but equally there's not enough evidence to say this has no link whatsoever. So it's open to interpretation, and you never know, because some of us think that Dylan Rounds was shot and that Brenner had a firearm which was never retrieved or mentioned about ever after. Ty Corbin, you know, giving his side, his points about the chrome firearm. The fact that no murder weapon has been found to this day opens up that possibility, and just about now hearing about a firearm found elsewhere, abandoned, maybe dumped, maybe buried. I guess that's the other thing you got to take in mind. If the firearm looks as if it fell out a person's pocket or holster and it was just left on the side exposed, maybe accidental. But if it was buried or if it was wrapped up in some kind of bag or fabric, if it had DNA on it, maybe more suspicious. But unfortunately, not really heard much back from there. And the way Box Elder treated it, I don't know if they're even going to take it in for DNA testing or not. And as for the original owner, let's just say if it was Brenner, right? Brenner probably wouldn't be able to say much anyway because of the situation he's in, Weber County Jail or something. But if that was Brenner's firearm, let's just say it was on the conditions that this firearm was the murder weapon in the Dylan Rounds case and it was found dumped over that way, miles away. And Brenner was the owner of that firearm, or at least at the time he was the owner of it. And then the police do a public post saying, if there's anybody this belongs to, you know, own up, explain, reach out, whatever. If not, it'll be given to some of a stranger that found it, who may sell it or use it themselves, or it will be destroyed. And if that was a key piece of evidence in the case, and Brenner heard about that news, he could be like, I'm not going to own up. I'm not going to say anything. It'll only make me look bad, make me look worse. May lead to an additional charge with that whole being a felon in possession of a firearm. Separate charge, but still a counting one. A cumulative, wouldn't do him any favours. So the best thing Brenner could do in a situation like that, if his firearm was found, and if Box Elder County Sheriff's Office mentality is, anyone wants to own up? No? Okay, never mind. Brenner doesn't say anything. Maybe the firearm is destroyed. If it's destroyed, that's potential key evidence lost. So even if ultimately, whether you were thinking this way or others, if it had no link to the case, this firearm, just the example that it demonstrates the mentality of Box Elder County Sheriff's Office just not taking it serious enough. But what Candice Cooley did highlight as a criticism is that although they might not be taking it as serious with what some of the stuff they said, they do appear to be a bit more proactive with their approach. Not the best of approach, very reckless, but they seem to be acting quicker on that than Dylan's case. So, depends how you take this video, right? Some of you could be thinking this is the murder weapon. Possibilities. It is a possibility. It's open-ended because of how it's been portrayed. It's up for suggestion, it's up for debate, it can be a theory, whatever you want to call it. But the fact is, a firearm was found, right? Previous. Who does it belong to? Unknown. Any DNA on it? Unknown. How was it discovered? Unknown in terms of whether it was buried or not. And who exactly was it found by? Unknown. But if you wanted to guess, could have been a walker, hiker, local, farm owner, rancher, hunter, any of those, right? So that's really it for now. Be sure to give your thoughts and comments down below and whatever. Focused video. That's because there was something of interest to cover today. Anyone else in the background wants to talk on, feel free to do so. I think when it comes to Indiana, a person that says they follow a religion of peace, whatever, I think you need to find peace with yourself first of all to truly identify with that group. I mean, there's a lot of self-improvement in Indiana, but I'm sure there's always time to become a better person, you know, with one's approach and how they react to stuff. Take in mind, we've seen both sides by now. It's trying to interpret which side truly represents you as a person and which way do you go ahead, forwards, in what direction, light or dark. There's always time to improve. I guess we'll see what happens in the future. But alongside that, we'll also see what happens with the Dylan Rounds case if it does evolve any further. Now, one thing that I do want to highlight, okay, is that I don't think that what we read in the Sun news article where it said about new DNA evidence being found by cadaver dogs, trained dogs, I don't think that links to this firearm being found by Box Elder County Sheriff's Office. Two separate things, okay? So leave your comments down below. Feel free to catch up on the other videos. Thanks for watching. See you next time, whenever that is. Goodbye. Good night.